What I'd like to do is begin the meeting of the Dartmouth Board of Public Works for January 22nd, 2026. Um, I believe we have a quorum, so I'll take roll. Mr. LaBelle,
Yeah,
the chair, Mr. Almy, is here.
Hi,
So
Mike's here, just to let you know.
there he is. Mr. Gagne, we were just taking roll. Are you present?
He's muted.
Present.
There he is. So all members are present. This meeting is being recorded. Uh, Tim, very briefly, it looks like we've got a significant storm coming in on starting Saturday night, possibly into Sunday night. And as part of your director's information at the end of this meeting, I'd like to ask you to talk a little bit about um, what the residents can expect in terms of plowing and also what their responsibilities are for clearing sidewalks. Just because it's been a while since we've had a real snowstorm, and this one
Mhm.
could be quite real.
Sure.
All right. All right, getting back to our agenda. Our first order of business is to approve and accept warrants for the bills payable. Do I have a motion?
motion to approve and accept the warrants for bills payable, period ending December 15, 22, and 29 of 2025.
I have a motion by Mr. LaBelle. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gagne. Mr. LaBelle, how do you vote?
Yes,
Mr. Gagne?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Item is approved. Next item is to approve and accept payrolls. Do I have a motion?
approve and accept the payrolls for the week ending December 13, 2027 of 2025 and January 3rd, 10, and 17 of 2026.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gagne. Mr. LaBelle, how do you vote?
Yes,
Mr. Gagne?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Item is approved. Next item is to approve and accept meeting minutes for the meeting of December 15th, 2025. That was a joint meeting, and Mr. LaBelle, I recall you were not present.
that is correct.
Mr. Gagne, have you had a chance to look the meeting minutes over?
I have looked at them and I make the motion that we accept the meetings of December the 15th.
We have a motion by Mr. Gagne. The chair will second. Mr. Gagne, how do you vote?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. I want to point out that the meeting minutes were prepared by a new preparer. And I think, Tim, if you could take a look at the format. My own personal preference is that I preferred the format we had at the meeting before, but
Yeah.
that's a matter of style rather than substance.
Sure, absolutely.
So moving down the agenda, our next item is old business. Item A, an update of water enterprise rates and quarterly billing. Tim?
Yeah. So as we know, water rates have increased has been approved at 13%. Um, at the same time, the tier structure has been adjusted in along with the quarterly billing adjustment from biannual billing. Those new bills are planned to go out in February for the first quarter. I have worked with Steve Sullivan on putting together a public notification letter to be inserted into the bills, which basically explains the increase, the reasoning for the increase, the impact of the increase, and other information that the residents can use to keep an eye on their water, to monitor their use, to conserve use and to go online, we created a calculator where you can go onto the website and put in your usage and get an estimated cost of your bill. The state also has a similar tool, a lot more detail into how you use water to basically give you an estimated usage as well as a lot of conservation tips and tools. And then we have our Eye on Water program, which you can log on to with your account number, and you also need your customer ID, which is not on the bill, and basically you have to call the water department to get your customer ID, and we're trying to work with our billing company to get that on the bill so customers can just see their account and see their customer ID and be able to log on to Eye on Water. Also, our billing clerk Chrissy has been working hard on a quarterly billing schedule for all of our water and sewer bills. So that I sent that an additional document in our packets. So our first billing date is scheduled for February 16th, and then it goes. Our next quarter will be May, then August, and then November. And we worked with the collector's office to offset our billing with taxes, with real estate taxes, so they're not sent at the same time. So.
Board members, any questions?
No.
Tim, I'd like to work with you and Steve on a press release emphasizing the need for residential customers to control outside irrigation in the summer.
Yes.
And hint at potential enforcement of the rules, and also remind people to be sure they don't have water running inside if they leave their houses for any length of time. Those two things seem to be the most recurrent complaints we've had, and I think it would be good to get some kind of a discussion or put materials out so people are reminded.
Absolutely, and I've been working on also a public notification for conservation of non-essential water use, basically.
Yeah, okay.
And we can work on that, and and moving forward, it'd be good to work with Falmouth community media to get that out.
Yeah, okay, all right. I'll connect with Steve on Friday, and I know you're going to be really busy because of the way things are going right now. So I'll see if Steve and I can get something to you that anticipates what you think is important and help it along. The sooner we get that out, the better, I think.
I agree. Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, before we move on from this item, one of the things that we did historically in the past is we had some interns and some senior citizens in the senior work-off program that would be assigned to different departments to help out. And I'm thinking that, in fact, we should have specifically a person who might be working part-time under those programs, specifically to look during the hottest months of June, July, August, and when we see situations where sprinklers are being used that are in violation of the regulation, that they would have the opportunity to speak to those individuals and ask them to correct the situation. I think imposing this upon the current water staff with what they have to do, we could better address it by having somebody, either a retiree or an intern, help educate people when we see violations happening.
Yeah, we can definitely look into that.
Yeah, that would be something I think beneficial. I can think of a number of instances where seniors in the tax work-off program worked on stuff for the DPW.
Mr. Gagne, if you have some experience, could you maybe work with Tim and the town administrator's office and give it a little bit of historical background and shape so they can understand precedent and kind of how to go about it.
Definitely.
We also have a new communications person at Town Hall. She just started, so you can work
Yeah,
with her as well.
that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, just as a reminder for me, what is the town's recourse for people who are in violation?
Tim?
There are fines laid out in the rules and regulations, or rules and policies of the Water Division. I believe it starts with a $50 fine, and then it tiers up
Okay.
for multiple violations. Yeah.
And if a violation is reported, is someone sent out to observe the infraction so that the fine sort of holds water, no pun intended?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think if I get the idea of Mr. Gagne's suggestion, is it sounds as if there would be someone who would make an initial contact in of a water user and explain to them the value of conserving water and the risk of continuing to waste water, and the a fine would occur perhaps subsequently from and would be imposed by professional staff if the water waste continued. Is that kind of where you were headed with it?
Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
So basically, we usually send a notification with the fine and give them a timeline to resolve the issue. Whether it be about a week to 2 weeks, and then after that, I believe the fines are daily if they don't resolve the issues.
Gentlemen, Steve Sullivan, also with the quarterly billing, we could put a reminder each time to about the water use restriction. Usually they used to get it once a year. Now we can do it more often, so it's going to help it along. And also, when we get a call in the office, one of the staffs go out with that letter and explains to them why they shouldn't be using their water because of the restriction.
Yeah, that I think this is going to be an awareness and change habits kind of effort to be most effective. So, all right. Anything else, board members? All right. So,
Mr. Chairman, I do have one more piece of information based on water conservation. To let everybody know, we're currently entered into a mild drought in southeastern Massachusetts. So, just to let you know, along with notification that we put out, we can inform the residents as well that we are currently in a mild drought. Even though we have snow on the ground, we've had some rain, we just haven't had enough to sustain the groundwater levels and river levels and pond levels.
all right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
I think, Rob, I think one of the things that people have to understand is, Tim is saying a mild drought, but the problem is that each of these aquifers that we're drawing upon in Dartmouth for Dartmouth's water supply has certain restrictions on them that when they get to a certain level, or the wetlands or rivers that are adjacent to them get to a certain level, they have to turn off those wells, which means we're buying water from the city of New Bedford. People have to understand it's not just a drought. If you're concerned about how much water we're buying from New Bedford, it also has to do with us being totally subsistent upon aquifers, which are affected by drought. So they
Right.
together, and people have to understand that it's a situation where we don't have any control. That's state and federal law that you have to shut those wells off.
Yep. Yeah, and we do have bylaws and enforcement in aquifer areas for, construction and recharge, but, it's never been really enforced. Um, and that it's really, we find it really lax. And when we try to enforce compliance, we get a lot of flack for it, both from town agencies and, and the residents. It's difficult. We become the bad guys.
Well, when this comes up before the zoning board, I think you might invite one of your board members to come in and explain how important it is.
Absolutely.
All right. Anything else on this?
No.
Nope.
Yeah, I think we're going to be looking at the issue of water use more than once in the next 6, 8 months. So, okay. Old business B, update on the operating budget and CIP.
Yeah, so I presented our FY 2027 operating budget to the Finance Committee on December 12th. It was well received. We had a few minor questions, nothing substantial, and we met with a new board member who will be our liaison moving forward, named Deirdre. She seemed very interested and some experience in DPW and other communities. So it went well. We're planning the capital improvement plan presentation is currently tentative at the end of February. And we're working on a date for my presentation as well. Both the operating budget and the capital budget proposals are in the package. I don't know if does the board have any comments or questions at this time on it?
Board members, any comments or questions?
The only comment I have, Mr. Chair, is that I really think we should put something in the capital improvement plan to do a operation and functional analysis of the transfer station. I see some bottlenecks up there that I think, that layout of that station's been as it is, I think, for probably about 30 years. And there are some situations that I think it makes it difficult for the residents and for the individuals who operate the facility. And I don't know if this is something we would do internally through the engineering division.
I think
But
so.
we maybe should be looking at putting together some money from the solid waste enterprise fund to fund functional analysis and a recommendation on that. I think it would help the residents and the operators up there.
I know we work with the district as well on this, and we did I've done a lot of this in the past internally, and we can work on it internally as well. We do have a capital item for basic reconstruction of the scale house at the transfer station, so that at that time we can probably work on this as well.
I think one of the priorities and why we should move forward with it, because I think the way the MSW bins and the demolition bins are set up and the way people have to back into them, I think there's a worker and public safety issue there where there's conflicts between the demo and the MSW bins.
Yeah.
And you see some pretty hair-raising situations there where cars are very close to workers and others who are using them. And I think before there's some kind of significant accident there, we can address it and figure out how much it's going to cost to correct it.
I agree.
Yeah, Tim, I agree. I had the opportunity to be up there with a trailer a few weeks ago. I think if people are going to bring trailers in there, I think there needs to be a different traffic flow that includes utilization of the space at the far end of the transfer station, and perhaps move some of the vehicles that are stored up there and have a more rational arrangement of the various bins and as I say, a different traffic flow, particularly for bringing trailers through. And I couldn't agree more with Mr. Gagne about the worker and public safety issue. I agree with that.
I think, Rob, one of the things that can be addressed, presently is those operators are probably going through pairs of shoes every month because I see them walk from that cardboard bin up in the area that you're talking about, all the way back to the MSW bins, to the demo bins, to the styrofoam bins, to the mattress bins. And it's like, something's got to be done so that these operations are a little more fluid and a little more tolerable for the workers.
Can I say something, Mr. Almy? Anything beyond the cardboard container, we're not granting access there, no matter what, because that's where we store all our catch basin material, all our working material. Not just vehicles are stored up there. Plus, that's where we haul, if we were doing a road project, the trucks come in and wrap up there. We can't have public beyond that footprint. Plus, that's the access road to the back for the compost pile that the water pollution control uses.
Yeah, so you
why don't we just restrict no trailers? That's what actually and then rules and regulations. There's no dump trailers allowed for demo there.
Yeah, I'm not thinking about dump trailers. I'm thinking about somebody with a small U-Haul where they've put a
at the trailer.
Yes, a washer or something, that's accepted. And, they get in there and they got to turn around and it's tight. And so I think traffic flow is definitely something to look at.
Yeah, we're definitely there. We're in exactly the fixed footprint because and the outer edge is wetlands back there that we're restricted to get access to. We're definitely a tight footprint up there. There is on record, Timmy, he worked on it when he was in the engineering department, the permitting up there for that transfer station. We have a design plan there, which board members should freely look at it and see how we can place things. And I mean, it's on file with the state. Timmy has it. We file every year permit there. It's permitted there. Feel free to take a look at it and pencil in what we can do up there. But we're stuck in a tight footprint.
Yeah, that's apparent. There's no doubt. It's very challenging.
And we can't have the public down beyond there in the working area down here at the bottom because at any given day we got machines being around there, trucks being moved. Well, he said that's even a worse hazard, having them drive down here.
All right. So Tim, can you take Mr. Gagne's comments and fold that into the work that's going to be done next year?
Absolutely.
Yep. All right. Thank you. All right. Anything else on the operating budget? I do have one comment, and that is, Tim, as the operating budget is developed and as the CIP is developed, if you could get the board members copies of documents marked draft with a date, so we have a little bit more time to look over these documents. They're fairly comprehensive. There's a lot of information there, and understand how they've been, so we can see how they've been developed.
You're saying the operating budget and the CIP?
Yeah. For example, when you go in to talk to the finance committee, and it would be nice to see what you're going to give them, so we're aware.
Absolutely.
And also give us a little more time before a meeting like this, before we're in a public setting and would like to have any kind of conversation.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Next item is.
Could I ask one more question? Sorry
Sure.
to belabor this, but in the Water Enterprise Fund, the 1.750, 1,750,000, for non-energy utility water, that's New Bedford water.
Yes, yep, that is correct.
All right. How is that tracking in this budget year?
We've overspent that already.
Okay, is this enough, given the
Uh,
fact?
So based on what our schedule is, here in November and December, we spent a total of $1,600 in water, which is good. We worked with Steve to really work on limiting the amount of water that we're pumping from New Bedford, especially through these winter months where it's typically not needed, except during peak times sometimes, so if they can adjust the flows, and it's been working. Right now we're working on getting the CT pipe and completed and getting the Pinelli wells back online. We can get another 3 wells back online, which will supplement a lot of that what we've been using. Those wells have been off since 2020. So once we get those wells back online, we'll be in much better shape. So like I said, I expected it to be enough, but depending on mechanical failures, electrical failures, we've had storms that knocked out the same wells twice and took out the electric and transformers. So barring any emergencies, we should be in good shape. But there's always failures.
I just want to note it,
Yep. So working with
Thank you.
With the increase, the rate increase, and we did increase that budget line item from last year. So and especially we expect the city to increase the rates again by 8% again, and I have an expected increase in the sewer as well for 3%, which they've been consistent with over the last couple of years as well. But we haven't received that notice yet, and I do have a couple of emails into the city to discuss the rates and possibly lowering our rate or working on a tier where when we use more than our normal use, that maybe we can get a lower rate.
Yep. Okay,
we
thank you.
do pay quite a bit than their residents, and as our discussions went, that they couldn't lower our rate lower than what their residents pay because they have an outcry. But and I think we're comfortable with a reasonable reduction there to help us as well.
Typically 20%, isn't it?
Yes. Yep.
But I think
Tim, where are we in updating the agreement with New Bedford?
I sent a couple of emails. They haven't responded, so I was going to send a letter out.
All right, and then do you think it would be worthwhile to have one of the board members directly involved in those discussions when they occur?
It could be. I assume so. They have a water board, right? They have a water commission. So if we're discussing with their water commission, I think having one of our board members would be well received.
All right. So if you would keep us apprised as to what's
Absolutely.
going on, please.
Absolutely.
but
All right.
in light of the nature of the discussion we're having here now and those wells going back online, I think some of our consultants need to tell us, based upon what we have knowledge of the increased number of residential units that are in the planning stage, in the permitting stage, or are fully permitted, what is going to be the impact of those as it relates to our wells and how much water we're going to buy from New Bedford? Because I'm not convinced yet, and I haven't seen anything to convince me, is that we're going to be getting out of this situation of the significant amount of water based upon in excess of 1,400 units coming into the town. I think we need to know that information. I think we have a responsibility to get that information, and we need to provide it to the decision makers who are the permit granting authorities. And I think the sooner we get this relative to our adequacy of providing water for the residents and the commercial customers in our town, we need to get some answers.
So Tim, is that part of the discussion of new business F?
Yeah,
Water supply source research?
yes, that's correct.
Okay, so we'll, Mr. Gagne, I think we'll have a chance to discuss that further later on in the agenda. I agree with you. All right. Anything else on the operating budget and CIP? Hearing none, move on to the comprehensive wastewater management plan request for qualifications. Tim?
Okay, so we received two submittals for the CWMP, and we're working on a timeline to review the RFQs. So the committee is set up with myself, Paul Duart, Dennis Meadows, Sandy Waterman, and Mike Gagne. So we'll be sitting down. Everybody has the RFQs for review, and we'll be scheduling a meeting to discuss.
All right. Any questions on that item? Okay, so my only comment is that this has been some time in the development, and hopefully we're on track to start making some real progress. And I'd also note that the way this is shaping up, there should be a pretty significant item in the budget for next year for this. So, all right, I'll look for that when you give us the CIP.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, Tim, would
Yes.
it be possible to get me a copy of that? I'd be interested in reading it.
Absolutely.
And yeah, a copy of each submittal.
Yeah,
I'd
we can do that.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Anything else on this item? All right,
Thank you, Mr.
Tim,
Chairman.
item D, operational study.
There are no current updates on the operational study. We're pushing forward to get this study underway. And then, the town administrator made some recommendations for more of a move in our operational staffing here, and kind of has proposed a business manager for the DPW. So they're currently working on that job description and salary, so I can get it in the budget. And then he would like to post that position as soon as possible. So originally the operational study would end their report to recommend operational changes like that. So I think we're moving forward with the town administrator, and then I think after that we can continue with the operational study.
The board members, do you have any comments? I do. Tim, the select board made the operational study a priority some time ago.
Yes.
And I'm concerned that we're not making the kind of progress that I thought we would be in the last few months. And in particular, if we're starting to reach ahead of the study and implement changes in staffing, not that those changes won't be beneficial, not that those changes are not justified. I think a business manager of a department as big as yours is absolutely warranted.
I agree.
However, if we're going to do the operational study, we need to get it done. Okay. So you might pass that on to the other folks that are working on it and see if you can make additional progress.
Will do.
All right. Anything else on the operational study, board members? Next item is storm debris planning update.
So we don't have any specific updates for the storm debris planning, but we did meet with the emergency management peer group this week to discuss the draft comprehensive emergency management plan. The debris plan was brought up in this discussion, and I am working with the EMA director to schedule to sit down and go over our debris plan in more detail, and with him in the hopefully within the next couple of weeks, and then and then after that, I plan to convene with the district along with the EMA director's comments.
Okay, board members, any questions on this? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business.
Just to let you know, the town is planning to bring the comprehensive emergency management plan to the select board for approval in February.
Okay. Could you be sure that our board members see that
Yes.
and know the date?
Yep.
All right. New business, item A, notice of sewer betterment lien release. Tim?
Yeah, so this is so the attorney working on title for this property requested the release of the notice of betterment, which is not the actual betterment. That is the order of betterment, which gets released by the assessors after complete payment. The notice gets recorded and put on the property to inform anybody, especially in light of a transfer of property, that there is a betterment coming. This betterment was recorded in book 4161, page 188. The information is in your packets, and I recommend approval of this release of notice of betterment.
Board members, any questions?
Tim, what is the location?
802 State Road.
Give me, point of reference. Where is that? Is that the parcel just west of Walmart?
It is west of Walmart, but it's actually, let's see, it's east of Route 6 Marine and Reed Road and west of Brum's Auto.
Okay, so it's the one with the big rocks on it.
No, so the rocks, that's the restaurant, right? Is that what you're talking about?
No, on the other side, the east of the.
Oh,
Marine.
yeah. So it's just east of that site as well.
Is that?
So, it's just east of the ledge site. Yeah.
Well, that's the site. That's the site that was just approved by the zoning board of appeals for what, 50 units?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. It's kind of in front of that site. Absolutely.
Any other questions, board members? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the notice of sewer betterment lien release at 802 State Road.
I have a motion by Mr. Gagne. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, motion by Mr. LaBelle, second by Mr. Gagne. Mr. LaBelle, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Gagne?
Yes.
Board chair votes yes. Item is approved. Next item is approval of a licensed utility layer application. Tim?
Okay, so TD Construction recently applied for this utility layer license. Actually, after hitting a water service line at 271 State Road. The proposed site work is at the car wash on State Road, the old Ponderosa building. The proposed work was permitted by the building department, and DPW was not privy to the plan review or permit review. TD Construction didn't contact DPW for any utility markouts during their construction, and hit the water service. So our crews responded, had to shut it down. They had to dug because the service shut off, didn't function properly. And at that time, they were told that they could not complete the work because they weren't a licensed utility layer bonded with the town of Dartmouth. So in order to turn the water back on, they had to hire a licensed utility layer to complete the repair, and get that permitted. A couple days later, our senior engineer, Paul, actually noticed the car coming out of the car wash, reached out to the water department, and they found out that the water was repaired and turned back on. So they had completed the repair and turned it back on without a permit, inspection, or permission. They were issued a letter and a maximum fine to the property owner for that work, which is in the rules and policies of the water division. It's a maximum of $300. So. But the contractor is requesting to be licensed so he can complete the work, the repair, and get the water turned back on.
Board members, any questions?
I don't think I want to see him working in the town.
Yes, yeah. Yep.
The other thing I kind of enjoyed reading this is these letters of recommendation.
Yes, 2020.
I mean, shouldn't we be asking people to get us something a little bit more current?
Yes.
You
Yes.
know?
Yep.
I mean, the guy's already got 3 strikes.
Yeah. Yep.
Tim,
I agree.
Can I say something about that? It's not only the contractor's fault, Mr. LaBelle, it's also an internal problem with the building department. They gave him the authority to work while the DPW review or conservation permits. There's other issues too there with conservation. Because I was the one that responded to that problem. So it's a twofold situation. I don't have the board package to be there to reference, but unless they qualify, we were just accepting too many contractors now that really could drum up anything to say that they're qualified, but in my opinion, they're not. Right? It's a twofold situation that we're dealing with right now in town. How that got approved and commence work while our complete review, because if we had an opportunity to review it, we would have put the existing service and make it mark it up because we had good record plans of that service, and this issue wouldn't have been a problem.
Well, Paul, I appreciate you, defending the contractor and noting that, but any contractor, worth his salt is not going to put a shovel to ground without calling DigSafe and without calling the town before they start hitting utilities.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, because I get that excuse 1,000 times. I call DigSafe. For you, I've been doing it long enough, Mr. LaBelle. When you call DigSafe, they tell you exactly who they're notifying. We are considered a private entity, so they don't mention us. It's your responsibility to notify us. But apparently, the way that they thought they do that, the building department gave them carte blanche to do anything they want, because that's apparently who told them to go ahead and do the repair and turn it on.
Yeah.
So,
Tim, we got 2 things here. We've got an issue with whether we license this contractor, and we have with the latter, the internal communication issue. Would you please set up a meeting between myself, the town administrator, the building official, and at the town administrator's discretion, a select board member?
Sure.
It's time to have that kind of a discussion.
Absolutely.
Chairman, on the particular matter at hand, the situation of an intrusion into the public water supply is a very serious issue. I can tell you numerous instances where this has caused problems, where communities have had to put boil orders in place.
Mhm.
I would make the motion, so we expedite this. I would make the motion that we deny the request for the permit requested.
All right, Tim, so I have a motion on the table by Mr. Gagne, and do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second by Mr. LaBelle. Tim, before we vote, would you give us a sense, and possibly Paul, you might have something to add to this, of what might happen if we move forward with a denial?
Well, I'll tell you what might happen. Like everything else, what normally happens here when we have contractors that are hired by a to do a site work, and they're not bonded to do it, they hire somebody that is bonded.
Okay.
They were told that day, Mr. Almy. I was on site. I responded. I had one engineer respond there too to get all the information he needed. He explained the regulations to the contractor, or the superintendent was there, what had to be done. Contact the office, get a list, hire a bonded contractor, pull the permit, make the repair, and we'll turn the water on. A couple of days later, I get a call from Paul Duart, and I find out the water's on, and it wasn't fouled. He was told what needed to be done. We always have a situation to where they get out of where they're in, and it's hire somebody on the list.
Yeah, I understand that, but I guess I'm going to be more specific in my questions. Tim, if the unlicensed contractor continues to work on the site, what is the second tier of fines? Do the fines increase?
Site work is not under jurisdiction unless it's
If they do
utilities.
any trenching or any work around the either the water or sewer connection?
Yeah, so there is the maximum fine in our water rules is $300.
Okay,
per incident.
that doesn't increase for subsequent violations.
Does not.
It stays at 300. Okay.
For every
Right.
day.
And just to let you know, that's item E on our discussion today.
Yeah, I know that's coming up.
Okay.
And then what would a stop work order look like?
So a stop work order, we would typically go through the building department for that, and I don't think they're agreeable to placing a stop work order for the DPW.
All right, I'd like to reiterate my request for a meeting. With that, board members, any other comments? All right, Mr. Gagne, how do you vote?
I vote to deny the request.
Mr. LaBelle?
I vote to deny the request.
Chair votes to deny the request. Tim, if you'd pass that on both to the contractor and to the building inspector, please.
Yes, will do. And historically, we've worked well with the building department when we need a cease and desist, stop work, and just recently that's
Well,
hasn't
think
worked.
about sailing. Every once in a while, you got to trim your sails. So,
Okay.
all right. Next item is an engineering contract with Tata and Howard.
Yes. So this is stated as a sanitary survey, but it's actually not the sanitary survey. It was corrective action from the sanitary survey requiring water system risk and resilience assessment, which will identify critical assets and provide recommended updates to the water system emergency response plan. The submission of this risk and resilient asset report is due in June. So the contract for this engineering contract is for $16,200 to get that completed and submitted. I recommend approval.
Board members, any questions? Tim, how does this relate to item F?
It's more of basically a risk assessment of our entire system, right? Both our treatment and distribution system, rather than anything to source new supply. So this is basically identifying our existing critical assets. So if we do have additional supply wells and treatment facilities, then those will be additional assets that will have to be included in this assessment in the future.
All right. It occurs to me that if we're going to be looking at additional sources, the nature of those sources and the timing of the need for those sources may relate to some of the sources we have in their condition, their ability and reliability. So I think the study should feed into item F.
Yeah, and it does, part of our critical assets is also our connection with, with the city
Right.
of New Bedford for a supplemental supply, so
Right.
as well. Yeah.
All right. Do I have a motion on this?
Motion to approve the engineering contract, sanitary survey, Tatter and Howard for $16,200.
I have a motion by Mr. LaBelle. Do I have a second?
Second,
I have a second by Mr. Gagne. Any discussion? Mr. LaBelle, how do you vote?
Yes,
Mr. Gagne?
yes.
Chair votes yes. Item's approved. Next item is discussion sewer flow and loading study update. Tim?
So we had worked with our consultant back throughout 2023 to study and update sewer flow and loadings data with a final report that came out in January of 2024. So since this report was completed, we've had multiple proposals for large residential developments that were not part of the sewer master plan or former TWMP, and those flows weren't included, in our master design for our treatment facility or our infrastructure. So I've discussed updating this report with our consultant, and they agree that given the amount of development proposed endowment, that we should definitely, analyze, the impact of all these proposed flows to our collection system, infrastructure, and treatment facility. And also, while we're working on a lot of these proposals through peer review, they're reviewing the proposals, but they can't include any cumulative data from any other proposed developments because those developments are not currently approved. So they have to basically stay within the lines that are laid out by the state's housing authority. So I think doing this on our end and completing this impact study and flow and loading report update will help us see what we're looking at for future flows and the impacts on our infrastructure.
Board members, any questions or comments?
I have a few.
And just before you go forward, we've asked the consultant to put together a proposal or to move forward and update that as well.
Okay. Mr. Gagne?
I'm very concerned about the cumulative effect. And as I read these individual reports that are done by Stantec, and I see things that are identified in those reports that relate individually to impacts upon the infrastructure of our sewer system. And I think we have a responsibility, though it may be individual applications, we have a responsibility to look at this collectively as to what the cumulative impact is going to be. And I think that's important before we make any decisions on the issuance of permits to tie into that sewer system. you add to this one, this is, I think, something that is sort of a ghost that we are not dealing with. We're talking about these residential units, but from what information I've reviewed, you got a substantial number of households that are on sewer extensions that were done over the last 20 to 25 years that haven't tied in. And I think that needs to be factored in to the consideration of what is going to be the cumulative effect upon the plant if and when the plant reaches capacity and we can't issue any more permits because we've exceeded the permitted total capacity of the plant. I personally think we ought to ask the consultants what a timeline would be to get these kinds of answers so that we have them in a timely manner as we consider each of the connection permits that are going to be coming forward. And I think Tim should give them any knowledge he has of any entity that's considering construction of residential units, if it is from the very conceptual point to the point where they have the permits in place, so that we get a good picture before we make future decisions on issuance of permits. I'm very, very concerned about this. I think it's an accountability issue. We have a responsibility to the community to know this information before we make a decision and make a wise decision. And I've been thinking a lot about this, and I've shared some of my comments. I've actually put together some of the questions I have, and I'm going to share them with Tim so that he can ask the consultants to, consider these things. But I think this is a very pivotal point that we're at, and we better get this done. We better get it done ASAP so we can make wise decisions.
Mr. LaBelle, do you have any comments?
Yeah, Tim, I mean, I read this and we've been talking about this now. I've been on the board, I think, 5 years, and we've been talking about this for 5 years. The plant is approaching its 80% capacity for loading flows. And, when you look at the graphs, we got some serious issues.
Correct.
How has the state, has DEP or anyone ever weighed in on us notifying them about our intentions to modify the facilities, increase flow potentials? Because all of that is going to come around. I went through a whole moratorium with them once, and they shut the city down. And you all know what ended up happening eventually anyway, to the tune of about $170 million. This, this is going to come around to bite everybody in the town. The I&I issue, the sewer extensions where people haven't tied in, all of these are big problems. And I agree, with Mr. Gagne, we got to get a handle on this. We've got to know where we are, because there's so many people knocking at the door that want to build in this town. It's going to be overwhelmed, and it's going to happen quicker than we anticipate.
I agree.
It's not good.
And I'm not aware of the state reaching out in regards to future capacity plans for the facility at this time. I do expect it eventually. And it's, the crazy thing is it's the state that's pushing these developments as well. So it's like, eventually it's going to come from both ends, right? Where, and the state is really pushing this. And if we deny based on capacity issues and basically saying we don't have capacity or we're reaching our 80% capacity, the state doesn't care. They don't care, because as long as we have capacity to them, there's no moratorium yet, and we haven't been seen any enforcement from the state in regards to either issuing a moratorium or expanding the system.
Yeah. One other small comment. I know this is impossible right now, but it's a shame. Is Dartmouth used to accept septic, and
Yes.
that was stopped because the plant couldn't handle the load, I would assume.
Yeah, it was the BOD numbers were pretty high.
Yeah,
So
they still are.
yeah, so for a time they did drop down, but now they're up again, and we don't accept septic. So
Right.
and we
This is my question. You may not be able to answer it, but I just want to make the point.
Hmm.
Um, I'm not quite sure when this was stopped. I think it says August of 2020. But how much revenue did we lose when we didn't accept septic? And how much revenue are we losing today because we don't have the capability to accept it?
It's a good question. I'm not exactly sure, but I can get those numbers for you.
Yeah, well, that's okay. You don't have to.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you a real quick story. We built a septic receiving station. I paid $1.4 million to get it done.
I
It
know.
paid for itself in 9 months.
Correct.
And boy, was I upset that I didn't double the capacity.
Yeah. And now they're getting more use over there because they can't come down.
Correct.
Um,
Correct.
the plans to upgrade our aeration uh, is, basically would allow us to start accepting septic again. But it's, we need funding to move forward with that, which is, why we're increasing rates to get our retained earnings up to fund projects like that. And we probably have to go, to SRF as that project's about, in the $6 million range. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a moneymaker,
yes, absolutely,
but you got to have the facilities to accept it.
we do.
Okay, that's it. Those are my comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for bearing with me.
Any other comments from the board? I have a question. That report that was provided for discussion is dated 2024. It has some recommendations in it as to monitoring. And Tim, do you know whether that monitoring has been done? Increased monitoring for BOD inflow?
Is Dennis on here?
Maybe you could get back to me on that. In any event, it seems to me that we have a number of pieces of information, studies, concerns about the town's ability to treat wastewater. And whether it's I&I or capacity of BOD or ability to accept septage, all of these things need to be addressed in the CWMP, in the Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan. And then from that plan, alternatives selected, and we need to move forward. All of this stuff is the need is well enough identified, it seems to me, that the Public Works Department and the town can explain what the limitations of the existing system are, what we plan to do about those limitations, and what the implications are as we move forward if there are too many connections requested. Okay. And I think we need to be able to have a cogent discussion that we can give to the select board about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and what the implications are if the requests for connections outstrip our ability to permit. All right. And I think this needs to be done in public. And this is kind of like the Vince Lombardi School of Public Administration, where we're telling them what we're doing. We're telling them why we're doing it. We're going to execute the play. and we're still going to win. Okay. We need to be more forthcoming to the select board about what the implications are for the development. Mr. Gagne has said this. Mr. LaBelle has said it. I completely agree. I think the time has come to lay this on the table to the select board so that the public knows, right? I feel the same way about our next item, item F, about water supply research. So this is not an action item. If there are no other comments, we can move on.
Mr. Chair, would you like me to request a combined Board of Public Works and Select Board meeting?
I think I'd like to have you assemble the parts of what that discussion would look like, so the board can help shape that discussion. And maybe we could either at our next meeting, or you could work with one of the board members to shape that. And I'll leave that piece up to you.
Yeah, so I think this flow and loading study, to including all the proposed flows, is a big proponent to that. I think it's a big tool to bring to the select board as well.
Yes, I agree. I agree. And so the scope of it, discussing the scope and need for this study is the vehicle for getting there,
Correct.
because it brings everything together.
I agree.
But I think the timing is important to have a meeting relative to this matter. But I may be oversimplifying it, but I think whatever knowledge Tim has in the various stages of the commercial, condo, and rental unit projects that we are aware of, I think the consultants can do a calculation right now on your plant capacity will be reached when you issue permit for up to 800. It will be issued, it will be 1200, it'll be 1400. Having that answer to come into the meeting that we need to have with the select board is critical, because we're speculative on this at this point. But I think the analysis to produce an answer to this question is not that complicated. It's not something that I'm going to wait for the CWNP to address, or even this study to address. It's an answer that I believe we can get timely, and we can advise the permitting issue authorities that by the time they issue permits for 400 units, it'd be time the preserve comes on with all their phases and everything, you're at your limit. And then we can have the conversation with the select board to say, what about the residents who haven't tied into sewer extensions, and what are we going to do with them? So I think it's straightforward. I want an answer timely, because this stuff is moving through the permitting authorities, and I see a continuation till March on one big one that's 300 units. Now, I sure as heck would like to have that permitting authority have an answer to this question to make part of their decision. So I think we need to scope it down. I think the study Tim refers to is important because it relates to the piping infrastructure we have out there, and that is just as critical. But I think an answer to what the capacity of the plant and what Ron has alluded to in the 80%, we're very close to that. And I think an answer is needed right away on that.
All right. Tim, can you work on that? Do you need?
Absolutely. It's already in progress.
What do you need from this board to answer Mr. Gagne's question?
Nothing currently. We're working, like I said, we're working with the consultants. I do have a lot of the data to work with them. It's just basically getting it moving, getting the report completed.
Very
in an expedited, timeline.
It's very timely, because you're going to need an answer to this for that March hearing that is coming up on, two big units that I believe will produce over 450 units. And if we can't even handle that, then the permanent authority should know it.
Correct.
All right, Mr.
Absolutely.
Gagne, are
I
you
agree.
able to work with
Absolutely.
Mr. Barber on this?
Absolutely.
All right.
I have one more quick question, Mr. Chairman, just
Yes, sir.
is if somebody issues a permit for construction, can DPW refuse a permit to connect to the sewer? Given the knowledge that we have, and it seems from time to time, the knowledge that other people tend to ignore.
Yeah, I think this is a big part of the discussion, Mr. Bell.
Mr. Chairman.
You know, when would we get to a place where the answer is no? And how do we let the community, including the developers, know that it's likely that that kind of an answer to a permit request is coming up, even if there are otherwise approvals. And so this is comes under the heading of telling people what's going on, so there are no surprises, no excuses.
Absolutely.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, I can add to that. So basically, a building permit is not, it's not impacted by the lack of sewer connection. It's only impacted by water. So, the building department can permit a structure based on existing water and no sewer, because they can also provide a design for a septic system. So that being said, it can be done, but we also have the ability to say no, but with justification. On 40B projects, it's more difficult because
this is all part of what needs to be discussed with the select board and the building official and the town's administrator. All right. Tim, when you have made some progress with Mr. Gagne, could you give us all the board members a progress report and keep us apprised?
Absolutely.
All right. Board members, any other questions on this?
I only stress and reiterate, this is important information that we're going to need. I should say that the Zoning Board of Appeals is going to need by that March meeting. So I think we need to narrow down and get answers specifically to the capacity of the plant and when it will be reached and when we will be exceeding what the DEP has permitted for that plant. It's imperative you have that for March, and I think Tim needs to move forward to just that aspect so that we can share that with the Zoning Board of Appeals before they make the decision. So then afterwards they say, well, we didn't know.
Right.
Tim, do you have in the budget the ability to give the contractor a small piece of work to do this? And do you have, as the director, do you have the ability to approve that?
Yes. So the board approved an on-call contract with the consultant for that very reason.
All right. Okay. This is important enough. Again, please keep us apprised of the progress.
Absolutely. I will.
All right. Any other discussion? All right. The next item is item E, update rules and policies of the Water Division.
So we briefed on this earlier. Over the past few months, we've had our water system compromised multiple times, where either a contractor or a property owner or a tenant actually connected to the water system or repaired the water service without permit or inspection for a licensed contractor. The current fine for the policies is $300, while the fine for noncompliance with sewer rules and regulations is up to $5,000. So I'm looking for the board's agreement to move forward with updating the rules and policies for the water division. I just want to let you know that this policy and rules and regulations was historically approved by the Board of Public Works and town meeting. It while it's not titled as a bylaw, there are some mentions of bylaw in it, and I've presented that to Assistant Town Council to also review to see where we are with that, if it actually has to go to town meeting, and if we can increase the fines as well.
Jim, when's the deadline for the warrant for Springtown meeting?
I'm not exactly sure yet.
All right, we should
All right.
know that.
I can know that. I'll work with the town clerk to get that.
All right, board members, any comments?
I think you need to take into consideration the risks to the public when illegal connections are made to a water system. I can tell you from my experience, I'm aware of this happening in other communities, and they had to issue boil orders because these connections didn't follow the procedures required by the DEP. The fine should be commensurate with the degree of severity and risk.
Correct. I agree. So I can say that there was a sewer and water connection was made on a property without permit. We did fine that property owner $300 for the water fine, and we fined them $5,000 for the sewer. So I think the risk is high, really high for the water. So I think that should be of equal value or more. So.
Absolutely.
Mr. LaBelle, any comments?
Just, I read these policies that there are no values in here for fines. Am I correct in saying that?
No, there were two locations. Let me see.
But, for me, a contractor who does something illegal in the town,
Yes.
$300 is not enough money.
No. So if you look at
Not even close.
Section 5, has a tiered penalty on page 14, and then
Okay, I don't see it, but,
on page 14.
oh, I thought you said page 5.
No, Section 5 on page 14 and is
Section
one.
Oh, I see it.
penalty.
Okay, I'm sorry. That's why I missed it.
And then on page 6 at the top, where it's Section 13, that's violation of regulations. That's a
Yep.
$300 fine.
Okay,
Tim,
well, I would adjust those significantly.
I agree.
Tim, as a matter of context, what would a typical residential connection cost to the homeowner?
For water,
Yeah,
$2,000
okay.
plus
So
the meter cost, but yeah, so just over
So if
2,300.
So if I wanted to put in a second water line or replace it, you think it would cost $2,000 to do that to my house?
It costs a lot more than that.
I know, but I'm just trying to.
Yeah, the permit to connect a water service, whether it's an initial or it's separate, is before the meter or to the main, it's $2,000. And
Yeah, that's the permit.
plus the meter. Yeah, that's just the permit. So that obviously the construction costs and materials are more.
Yeah, what do you have any sense of what a typical construction cost would be?
We have a good number of utility contractors. I always recommend reaching out to multiple to get a good estimate and a good comparable estimate. I don't, and materials differ if you're planning to use copper line rather than HDPE, which is HDPE is a lot cheaper. If you want that plastic, or if you'd rather stick with copper, which is a lot more expensive. So all those are come into effect. Access to the building, as well, if any obstructions like porches or anything they have to dig under or anything. So
And then does the fine accrue to the contractor or to the homeowner?
the fine goes to the property owner, because typically, contractors don't pay them, especially if they're not licensed. It's hard to chase a non-licensed contractor.
Yeah, yeah.
If the contractor is licensed, then we will send them a fine as well.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, board members?
No.
Do we want to give Tim any guidance on the amount of fine at this point?
I would suggest that we let Tim make his recommendation to us. He may want to look around other communities and see what they are doing to get a little bit of guidance, but what we're charging right now is frankly pitiful. It's, these guys make a lot of money. There's a lot of variables to digging in someone's yard, and they make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And a $300 fine is like, a tip for a meal.
Correct.
So
Yeah, I get it. And, and that's basically, what town council is going to be looking at as far as, bylaws have a maximum penalty of $300 currently. But if it's not considered a bylaw, we may be able to increase that. So I'll keep you updated on that as well.
Tim, if you need to change the wording so it's not considered a bylaw, would you bring that back to us as part of the package?
Absolutely, we'll do.
All right. Okay, board members, any other questions? Hearing none, let's go to item F, water supply source research. Tim?
So we briefed on this earlier as well with ongoing supply issues, revenue shortfalls, and increasing demand in town. The board, residents, admin, elected officials, everybody's interested in additional water supply sources, whether it be groundwater wells, surface water, interconnections. So we brought in a consultant to discuss future water sources, and they're working on a contract proposal to move forward. I assume it's going to be in the range of around 100,000. The first step will be, to gather all of the historical data that we've already done in the past for water sourcing. So the town spent many years searching for new sources. So we're going to bring all that data up and make it accessible. So we have that to discuss internally, as well as answer questions from residents and other parties that are interested, and then move forward with researching additional sources.
So I had the ability to listen in on a meeting with the consultant the other day, and I think the discussion went pretty well. I think they have an idea of what we're looking for. It ties into the two concerns about the number of connections that we can seek being requested in the next year or two, as well as the relative cost of our various supplies. Tim, when you mentioned making past studies available to the public, will you be able to post those online so people can actually look at them easily?
We should be able to, yes, on the website.
Yeah, okay. I think that would be very helpful. And I also think that whether we do it through our board or whether it's an issue that's taken to the select board, I suggest we have some kind of a public committee to discuss some of the potential alternatives as a way of screening some of the ones that are more feasible and satisfying in a public forum anyone that has a sense of additional supplies, but there's some consensus that for one reason or another, they're actually not feasible at this time. And I think that that would kind of expedite the process, even though it may take a little more time at the beginning. Board members, any comments on this?
No.
On this particular issue, about 6 months ago, we approved and signed a acceptance of a title for significant acreage on the east side of the Pascagoula River. And one of the things Assistant Town Council raised was the concern relative to language that would bind our ability to go onto that particular land, which is held in a conservation restriction with the Buzzards Bay Coalition, to explore and develop future water supplies. I know that matter went back to the representative of the Fish and Wildlife group, Massachusetts, Federal Fish and Wildlife. And they produced a letter that clarified exactly what we had been told by the coalition, that we could go on there for water exploration and for well development. And they issued a letter in that regard. I know that letter has been sent by Tim to Assistant Town Council, who raised that particular concern. And we had authorized Tim at that time that if that clarification was sufficient for Assistant Town Council, that he could accept it. And it was believed that we would record it so that years and millenniums from now, others would know that we could go there for water. So in keeping with this particular issue, I would ask, since it has been about 3 months since that letter has been produced, that in fact we inquire of Assistant Town Council if he has any concerns about that, because I would absolutely think that if we're going to move forward with this with a consultant, that area on the western side of the Pascagoula River and its proximity to water treatment plants that are on the east side of the Pascagoula, that west side has water treatment facilities. The proximity might make it very financially lucrative to look at that in concert with what we have on Chase Road. So my whole reason to raise this is we need an answer from Assistant Town Council. Is there sufficient? And if so, let's record it.
All right. Any other comments, board members?
No.
Okay, Tim, you'll bring this back, possibly with an answer to Mr. Gagne's question.
I actually have one.
Oh,
So I've met with Assistant Town Council about this and a couple other projects. So basically, to sum up his response is he's looking for a letter from legal, from the federal level, from legal to council, basically stating that that at no time will the federal government restrict our possible sourcing of wells or water source on that property. The grant that the Buzzards Bay Coalition is looking to use the Pascagoula land for is for bird habitat. So Assistant Town Council is concerned that if specific birds end up showing up on the property in the future, like many years down the road, he's concerned that the federal government could just step up and say, no, you can't put wells on here. It's going to impact the birds that are protected. So he said that just from Fish and Wildlife, it doesn't. He said it doesn't hold enough integrity and that he's looking for a letter from council from the federal government to state that.
Board members, any comments?
I would ask what specific legal is he looking from? I understand that he originally wanted an answer from the Solicitor General, the U.S. Solicitor General.
Correct.
I think the Solicitor General is a little bit more occupied with things in Washington than birds and water in Dartmouth. I mean, there is a contact now at Buzzards Bay Coalition since the individual we worked with is since retired. But I would ask, what level does he want? I mean, I'm sure Fish and Wildlife has legal counsel, and if that's sufficient, that might be able to expedite things. But if you're going to go to the U.S. Solicitor, we're going to be going around and round on this for a long time.
I can ask those questions and get back to you.
Yeah, Tim, I'm concerned that I realize the need to protect the town's interest. And that's one of our responsibilities, I think, is to serve the residents of Dartmouth. But on the other hand, sometimes questions can be raised that are too speculative, and the future occurrence of some rare and endangered species feels to me, and I realize this should be more of it's my opinion that because I'm not feeling it. My opinion is my sense is that this is a speculative question, and we're working with a public works department. And so I think we deserve a little bit more grounded concerns, I guess is the way to put it. Anyway, so if you can find out if whether Mr. Gagne's suggestion works, this is feeling to me, my sense is that we're spending more time on this and that this is being made a bigger legal question than it needs to be. All right, so.
I think seeing how much time this has taken since we had this on our agenda, I would ask that specifically the parcel of land that we acquired jointly with the coalition be added to the subject properties that in fact are going to be analyzed by this contract that we're going to review shortly, so that we look at it comprehensively over all the lands, whether we hold them jointly or singularly as a town.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with that as well.
100%. Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, anything else on this?
No, I will work to get some answers as well.
Okay, and you'll bring hopefully a contract back to us to begin this process.
Yes. Yep.
All right.
And just to update the board on that so the parcels that we had acquired with the assistance of the Buzzards Bay Coalition in the state, we had scheduled for a site walk with the BBC on January 29th, if any of our board members are interested in taking a site walk out at the property.
Okay, bring your binoculars and your bird book.
Exactly.
Rob, just
Yeah.
one other thing. I think this concern parallels the concern I raised with the wastewater issue. And I would ask, and I'm sure Tim could produce this internally, is that for the Zoning Board of Appeals, if we know there's 1,400 plus units, what the water consumption will be calculated by the state standards per bedroom unit, so that we can furnish that information and That way Tim can make a comment that, this potentially, will require or will continue to require that we purchase, quantities comparable to what we've been seeing consumed over the last 2 years and how we've had to supplement from New Bedford. I want to get all the factors into the permitting decision authorities. They're looking at roads, they're looking at traffic. Let's get the two answers that we're responsible for to them so that they have it before their decisions are made.
So I could say to that, so our consultant has our water model and is evaluating each of these individual proposals through the model. And I'm planning also along the lines of that flow and loading study is to have them work on the model to include all of the demands, all of the proposed demands, and look at the impact on flows in the system.
Yep, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, in the words of the National Environmental Policy Act, such as it is these days, you're looking at all of the reasonably foreseeable future projects as part of a comprehensive cumulative impact assessment. Okay,
Correct.
That's what we're doing here.
Yep, good.
All right. Anything else on this item? Okay, so could you be sure to send board members or copy board members on transmittals to the ZBA on projects as the consultants are finished with them? So we are aware of the results of the reports.
Yes. Yeah, they currently, just to let you know, that the process we submit to special counsel and for review, and once reviewed by special counsel, they go into and approved. They go into the Viewpoint portal, and they also get posted on the website.
All right.
And
As
then
soon as they're public information,
correct.
could you let us know what the report title is and how to access it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So your board can be kept up to speed.
Yeah, and if needed, I can, once they're publicly accessible, I can actually send them as well. So
Yeah,
either way,
I think given the size of some of these reports, it would be acceptable to simply tell us where they're posted.
Yeah, I can send a link to where they're posted, so it's easier.
Yeah, that's good.
That works for me.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent.
Board members, any other questions?
Nope.
All right. Tim, next item is committee reports. Board members, any reports from committees? I have none. All right. It's been a quiet month given the holidays, etc. All right. Next item is the director update.
So touching base again on the snow, our crews were at it again this past weekend. It seems like every storm hits us on a holiday or a weekend or a holiday weekend, so our crews have been out there, through the week and then on weekends and holidays as well, working hard, burning the candle to both ends, all night. I think, they put, some of them were out for 14, 15 hours straight this last storm. They did a great job. I think, all the roads look great, come Monday morning. I think we got a lot of some appreciation from residents and stating that they did a good job too, so that's great for our crews. Unfortunately, we're looking at another potential storm coming this weekend again. So it's currently being forecasted as a larger storm than this last storm, possibly 12 inches. And so we'll be looking at probably moving forward with a parking ban coming into the weekend to be expected. And again, our staff will be out basically treating treating roads and lots ahead of time to get ahead of the storm, and then snow removal. Once it's substantial snow is on the ground. So,
How you guys doing with salt, Tim?
Mr. Pacheco, are you there?
Well, we're holding our own. I learned my lesson years ago about being nice to the salt dealers, but I know the last couple of orders I put in, they've given me enough to satisfy me and they get behind, but we're holding our own. We
Good.
can't. We're looking at a storm that's going to come in between 8 and 10 on Sunday. That's going to push it to 10 o'clock on Monday. So it's 24, 36 hours.
Yeah.
But the cold is going to be there. But now I'm reading that we might be at a borderline of some warm air, so we might be at the heavy end of the snow type again. But we're holding on with soft, but I don't know. Now I'm looking already. They're predicting another one for next weekend.
Well, Paul, please tell the guys from me and the whole board in particular, thank you very much. I think they did a great job.
Well, we're trying to do our best. We get a lot of new faces. They've done their best. They're out here with me on Derek Sunday afternoon until early mid-morning on Monday.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to do their best.
Yep.
We'll do the same thing again this weekend. I'll be discussing tomorrow with Timmy. Once the strangest things last weekend, the models are all throwing their hands on. This week, yesterday they're saying all the models are agreeable. Well, do I believe it? I'm not sure. Friday we'll see. We'll begin. I know they're saying from 6 to 12. I have I always use one forecaster that from the beginning is always pegged at 9-10 inches, and they're staying steady. We might, if it continues to late Monday morning, we might have to just postpone solid waste and recycling, but we'll make a decision Friday afternoon on that. Just to give it's just not feasible to be out there with trucks while we're pushing snow. I just don't have the personnel. But we'll give the public plenty of notification. Same thing with the parking ban. We're going to try to be give them the notification. We do. There's no enforcement of it, but at least we can do our best and say we did post it. Hoping for the best. That's all we can do. We're preparing for the worst, and Mr. Gagnet's working up storms here with me and know how we go. I mean, we prepare for the worst and hope for the best, but we'll have to see. Be patient. All I can say to the residents: be patient with us. Hope do their part. Try to keep the cars out of our way. If we can't make it down the street, we can't plow it. If we can't make the first pass, we fall too far behind. Time is always an essence on these storms. If we fall behind, it gets too heavy. It means I have to bring heavy machinery down there.
Yep.
Thank you.
And I can't say enough about complying with the parking bans. Just getting the cars out of the way so we can access them safely and get the snow off the road. For that 24 hours or 36 hours that we're out there, and then you can go back and park the cars where they were, and the snow will be gone, but off the road. But if we can't get there and access some of these roads or around cars, it makes a mess.
Do we tow cars if they're parked illegally?
We do send to Dartmouth PD, but they typically don't enforce the parking ban. So,
And
I mean, we could hook them up to the plow truck.
It's a difficult step to take, but
as a point of emphasis, this is more than just a matter of convenience for clearing snow. In many instances, if the snow removal crew can't get in, it becomes very quickly a safety issue in case there's an emergency.
Correct.
So, I noticed that Ms. Sheridan of Dartmouth Week is on the line. We haven't had a storm this big in a while, and I think it would behoove the media, not just the town media, but other media, to remind people how important it is to get the cars off the street at least during the snow removal part. All right. So I hope that can be done. My opinion is it's a big deal. So,
Absolutely.
all
It was a
right.
big deal in New Bedford over this past storm as well. There was some news articles based on the parking bans and non-compliance.
Yeah. And if we get 8 to 10 inches, that's a lot different than the last storm. So,
Correct.
all right. Any other comments? Tim, anything else on the director's update?
Yep. So moving forward, I touched on the 579 Old Westport Road water treatment facility upgrades. The project is progressing really well. They were waiting on some parts, but they're planning to hopefully have the CT pipe project completed within 30 days, within the next month. In an interim, in that timeline, we'll be working with DEP to satisfy their needs to be able to turn our Pinelli wells back on.
That's a good news.
Yes. Yep. Next, just some project updates. Like the Delano apartments, I had met with Assistant Town Council. They reviewed our MOA and issued comments and revisions. So I'll be working to finalize that draft by the end of this week and early next week. If the board would like to see that MOA, I can forward it to you.
Do you normally bring those MOAs to the board for approval?
I have in the past, yes,
Yeah. All right.
absolutely.
So, does the timing work to have that come to us at our next meeting?
Yes. Yep.
All right. Board members, any questions on that?
My
No.
question is, Tim, the Stantec report identified, I believe, on the last page of the report that they had concern that the secondary pump in the lift station, which I think is Captain's Lane, in fact, they had concern about its adequacy to handle the additional capacity. And I had raised the issue as to whether or not in the MOU they were going to be required to refurbish that pump and address the concerns that Stantec had raised.
The pump station is actually South Station on Russell's Mills Road, which is a larger station. So I've spoken to both Claremont council and staff as well as assistant town council, and they both agree that requiring the full upgrade of that pump is basically isn't fair to the developer, and using a percentage of their based on either connections based on their connections or flow based on their flow and existing flow to issue a cost based on the percentage of use from their development.
So you will capture what is an equitable portion of that upgrade cost.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Board members, any other questions on that? All right, Tim?
Moving forward, the Hawthorne 40B ZBA hearing on January 8th was, they discussed some stormwater and some sewer and water. And also at that time, they submitted a long list of waiver requests. So we met with council after to go over all the waivers. And then we met with the design engineers and peer reviewer this week to issue our comments and and go over each waiver that's been requested. So we completed that. So moving forward, the next hearing is scheduled for February 12th for that development. And they will be, I'm sure they will be discussing a little more on stormwater as well as sewer and water. And
What-
and going over the number of waivers that have been requested. Sorry, the
Tim,
peer
what are
reviewer-
the
sorry, go ahead.
Tim, what are the major issues that were raised thus far?
One issue was the stormwater basins were being partially proposed to be constructed over the existing sewer interceptor easement and pipeline. So we worked with the design engineer to iron that out, and they're working to resolve that. Other issues are, basically, construction standards and requirements and specifications of public works, that differ from state construction standards. So basically, any tougher, local bylaws or regulations, can be, I guess, appealed by the developer if they don't seem fair to them. So we've been working with the design engineers to go over specific specifications that they're requesting waivers for. Other than that, basically they have, some big connections into that sewer interceptor. That's a 27-inch concrete sewer interceptor that was installed in the late 60s. So it's been around for a while. Everything has a lifespan. So got to be cautious when they're connecting into that pipeline. And then water, basically water supply, water demand, and the impact on our water system as well. We have it's only an 8-inch cast iron out in Tucker Road, and that increases, I believe, either Country Club or Allen Street to a 12-inch ductile iron. We've had a couple breaks, multiple breaks on that cast iron line in that area, between Allen Street and that new Hawthorne development, that we do have concerns with the additional demand and flow going through there. We could have some more consistent breaks in that area.
Tim, one of the questions I have is that before this meeting, I took a quick look at the Mass GIS ArcInfo data system that the Commonwealth has. Looked at the EOEA's page on conservation restrictions, and I took a look at that particular location, and they show a very substantial conservation restriction to the west of that property and along the back of the homes that are down in Pascamantic Valley there. I think it's imperative that we get a copy of that conservation restriction and see what it allows and doesn't allow. And I think would be very helpful is if you would go and look at that page on the Mass GIS system and overlay the plan that they have for the project. But I'm more concerned about seeing the conservation restriction. I know that conservation restriction was written sometime in the early to mid 80s because I remember it coming up. Um, and I think it's imperative when we look at that. I have raised this issue with town council in the past. I don't know what they came up with, but I think if you were to able to get that and we could all take a look at that, I think it'd be very helpful. The area along your easement is the most substantial portion of that conservation restriction, and I don't know if there were any guaranteed rights that the donor of that restriction encompassed in that. I think it's imperative before the decision's made, we know exactly what that document says.
Yeah, I can work on retrieving that document for both the section on the west side of that property, as well as along the north side of that property.
Good.
All right. Could you share that with us or post it?
Yep, I can.
Thank you. Any other questions, board members? Tim, I heard somebody mention an issue about water pressure in that area. Could you address that or just let us know whether that's an issue or not?
So the water pressure is below like state guidelines. So basically between 40 and 60 psi in that area. As you get down to the bottom of the development, it'll increase with the elevation difference. But up top, it's closer to the 40 psi area. The proposed drop based on the data that they've given us, and the only data they've given us is basically residential connection use, and they have like a central clubhouse, so to speak. So that those are the use. They haven't proposed any irrigation or anything, so our consultants couldn't evaluate additional use and demand because we can only use what they've given us for proposed data. So the pressure drop is only proposed to be about 1 or 2 psi, which isn't significant. It's just because the pressure is lower in that area, that impact can have more of a feel. The volume wise, I think they had one dead end location that had some volume issues below the standard, and that would have to be basically looked at by the consultant and by the fire department for fire flows at any of those hydrants. They're not looping any of the water mains from street to street, so basically everything's dead ended in the subdivision. And I always recommend looping as much as you can within the development to keep that redundant volume and pressure.
We allow them to do that?
The dead end?
Yeah, because looping that is important.
Yeah. So it's basically up to the restrictions of the development, if they can loop or not. And they can loop a lot of those dead end streets, except I think one of them on the basically east side of the development. There's nowhere to go to loop unless they go back out to like Tucker Road, but they would need an easement through another property to do that at that point.
Yeah. But we wouldn't fight that.
It's more of a recommendation. I don't know if we can require that. It's recommended. I think in our regulations, but sometimes there's a lot of subdivisions that are dead ends, and you end with a hydrant and you can't loop it to either another subdivision or development. It is allowed. It's just not recommended to not loop.
Okay.
Tim, let me go back. Maybe I don't understand what's going on here. Did you say that there was no discussion in the proposal for irrigation?
Yeah, for any proposed like lawn irrigation or anything, there was, we brought that up. The consultant also brought that up. That basically they they reviewed the project based on the data that they were given from the developer's consultant, and it didn't include, additional demands like lawn irrigation.
That is, let me pick a reasonable word here. That does not sound like a complete project description, given the amount of open space and what residents are almost certainly going to do with these properties. And therefore, how can that be considered reasonable by the zoning board?
Yeah, so that's the question. Where do they feel comfortable with enough information? Where the developer says, well, we only have to give so much information to get a decision, and then the rest of it will be they're requesting to submit post application. So I think they the description or narrative of the development should include uses as such to give everybody the information that they need to complete the calculations of the demand on the utilities and everything else.
Roughly. And I mean, are we talking 10 acres of lawn or 40 acres of lawn? That used to be a golf course, an 18-hole golf course.
Yes.
So I presume that a reasonable estimate of irrigation might be based on previous land use minus hardscape and roofs. Am I being unreasonable here?
Probably about correct. Yeah.
And it would be a significant amount of acreage.
Yes.
And if that kind of irrigation is going on in the area that already has low water pressure, and there were an emergency that might affect fire flows.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think that ought to be a comment that the Public Works makes. And
I made the comment at the ZBA hearing.
And did the fire department seem interested in that comment?
They weren't at the meeting, at the hearing. They did have some comments, more on fire hydrant location, but I can reach out.
Okay.
Before we leave this subject, the Stantec report that they did on water and sewer analysis issues, at the very end of the report, they raise what I consider very brief comments about the capacity at the plant in the 80% factor. I thought that was a little lean on explanation, and to individuals that are not savvy to what those numbers may mean, I would ask that you ask Stantec to get a little bit more elaborate on that explanation and put it as an amendment and highlight it for the ZBA. To me, that's the tip of the iceberg that we talked about an hour ago. And I think it needs a little more being flushed out, for lack of a better term, so that the ZBA understands the impact.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Mike. To the extent there are big or important issues, they need to be highlighted. And I mean, it needs to be, top of the list kind of stuff. In the past, when we've had a major issue, the ZBA has seem pretty open to work with us. I realize that these are with the 40B projects, we've got some constraints, but to the extent we can highlight these issues, I will trust them to do what they can.
Yeah,
Really,
I'll work on them on that.
what really should be done is that before a decision's made, that a laundry list of items are set up that have been addressed and have not been addressed. And especially in light of the issue that if a decision is made not to grant the project, when it goes before the hearings officer, the administrative hearings officer at the state, they will look very closely at the items that were addressed and were not addressed in factoring their decision. I've been before them, and lean decisions that are written without substantive reasons are what are the impetus for basically granting as presented.
Good point.
Any other comments, board members? Okay, Tim, other items?
Next up is did I say that the next hearing is scheduled for February 12th on this at the Zoning Board of Appeals in the Select Board office. And all of these hearings begin at 6 p.m. Next up, the Sherbrooke 40B, that's on Old Westport Road. The ZBA hearing for stormwater and traffic will be tonight at 6 p.m. I will be attending. The sewer and water discussion is currently scheduled for February 26th. I will be out of town at that point, so if they don't move the meeting, I will try to have somebody from DPW at the hearing. I have expressed this to the town administrator and special counsel. We will have, hopefully we'll have our consultant at the meeting as well. I see a greater impact on the collection infrastructure for this development, based on its location and where the flows go into a more of a residential pump station, and then pump into the force main that was installed from the Cedar Dell assisted living. It was installed for their pump station, and basically where this would be flowing into would go into our Junior Street pump station and then pumping back into that force main from the Cedars. So I do have some concerns with that capacity, which will be ironed out in the evaluation, working with the consultant.
Tim, briefly on Sherbrooke. Given the history of the site, what do you anticipate might be the risk for groundwater contamination? In other words, what kinds of liquid or solid waste was disposed, and what's the probability of any kind of either fuel or lubricants or solvents on the site?
So they've been working with, I think they have an LSD, working with determining locations. They've done sampling. I haven't reviewed them, specifically in detail. I know a lot of material was, brought to site, crushed on site, and maybe filled in areas on site. So, they're evaluating those piles and those materials as well. I can't really, discuss the fact on the water contamination until we've reviewed it completely. But their plan on that site is to lower the kind of middle to western part of that site, sort of cut and fill. So they haven't the east part of that site is pretty low. It's been excavated for soils back in the day. So they wanted to kind of do a cut on the east side and bring that material out to the west side. If the material is in compliance.
Do you think is it your impression that the LSP's report will be made publicly available? And if so, when?
Yeah, I can check. Definitely.
All right. I'm concerned because it's in zone 2.
Correct.
And up gradient. So, I'm wary of contamination getting into fractured bedrock and moving into zone of influence of our wells. So I'd like to know better what's going on that site.
Absolutely.
I think one of the things you have to be aware of is that just across the street on Lucy Little Road, that subdivision, I think it's Karen Lane, that area has experienced issues with drawdown when those wells, the Violetta wells, are pumping. And I remember, I may be wrong, but I think they ended up having to put water into that subdivision because it was affecting the individual home wells, that were there during significant drawdown periods. So I think, Rob, your concern is definitely worth looking into because I remember those complaints.
Well, and if there are individual domestic wells in the area, that's a big deal. And I know that Cedardale Lake has springs, and that to me suggests that there is subsurface flow that may or may not be connected with fractured bedrock. And I realize fractured bedrock may not be a particularly good source of water in this part of the world, but it can be an avenue for subsurface flow, and subsurface flow that is concentrated and can be fairly rapid. So, all right. Tim, anything else on that?
No, I'm working on see if I can get those reports for you.
Anything else, Tim?
The Hathaway Road 40B is a new 40B project. We did look at some flows from this early on. It's a 3,300 unit project that was presented at the ZBA hearing on January 8th for the first time. The next hearing for this project is scheduled for March 2nd, which I assume they'll be looking at the traffic study, maybe some stormwater. The developer has also reached out to work on water and sewer evaluation. This project also has some restrictions in the collection system infrastructure, as well as the treatment facility. So. And we will also be working on water evaluation as well, running that all through the water model.
Okay. Board members, any questions?
The only general question I have is, has anyone from the town determine whether or not these projects and their size triggers the MEPA review?
I'm not sure if they determined it. I know some of them were being looked at to see if they do
Yeah, the
trigger.
only reason I ask is if they have to file, an E and F
Yeah.
for the notification because of, the degree and size of the project traffic. I mean, that agency has, some really good experts on it that then determine whether or not it has to go to a full EIR.
Right.
I think if we knew that, that might be very helpful. If someone could look at that CMR, I think it's 310, and see if this project falls within that requirement, especially when you talk about Hathaway Road. I knew this came up on a city project that I was involved with, as it related to that intersection of Hathaway Road and Route 6, which we all know is a horror show.
Correct.
Tim, can you find out whether any of these three projects has filed the initial paperwork for MEPA? And if they have not, would you ask the special counsel to be sure that none of these projects have triggered the need for any further review? That's a good question, Mr. Gagne.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
So next we have so Route 6, actually near that 802 State Road area where the ledge outcrop is. There's a 56 unit apartment project being proposed. It was recently approved at ZBA, and the developer has reached out to begin sewer and water evaluations there as well. So I did send letters based on evaluating the sewer and water availability and capacity at the expense of the developer. So
Tim, it sounds like the ZBA approved the project before there was any evaluation for sewer and water?
correct. In listening to the ZBA in past projects where we've gone back and forth over sewer capacity and availability, basically, they state that they really don't have anything to do with sewer capacity. That's a DPW responsibility. So basically, they're voting on variances and relief requested for more for zoning.
Well, but doesn't the ZBA need to make findings of community benefit? Isn't that one of the key findings that they have to make?
They're also, it's supposed to, most of the variances and relief is based on hardship as well, right? And that should be justified in their decisions as well as community benefit and impact.
Maybe I'm missing something, but a 56 unit subdivision doesn't feel like a hardship case to me.
Right. And it's not a
and-
subdivision, it is an apartment building.
Well,
Yeah.
either way.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that in a world where the town is under pressure in providing services and under pressure because it doesn't have enough affordable housing, there ought to be a broader discussion of potential community benefit for a 56 unit apartment building. I don't mean to get political about this, but I mean, if we're talking community benefit, those are things that it seems to me ought to be raised. Anyway, all right. Anything else, Tim?
Uh, Across the street, there's been a 15 unit, uh, it's not a subdivision, but it's more like a subdivision. They're duplex homes, 15 units in total. Um, Located as a current, Patal Motors on State Road. This is a small project, but due to sensitivity with the sewer capacity and water demand, I'll be asking them to do the same. This is going through the planning board, not the ZBA.
If I can build on Mr. Gagne's concerns expressed earlier, can we get some kind of an overview of projects that are in the pipeline?
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm not talking about a lot of detail, but perhaps some kind of a visual, a map of the town, where they are and how big they are.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Good.
for asking, because I'm still sitting here amazed at the growth that is occurring.
Yeah.
It's definitely concerning. It's like every time we look at an email, it's another proposed, development.
Which,
And nothing's coming in as commercial or multi-use. Everything is residential. Even in commercial zoned areas, everything's being changed to residential.
but I think also this raises the issue relative to the Ellswick Street pump station and that rebuild and the cost overrun based upon what we had from the grant. That, again, if it's going to cost additional money over the grant, who's going to pay for it? Are these projects going to pay for it, or are the ratepayers going to pay for it?
Right. Exactly. That is concerning. And we should know by the end of next week when the general bids come in for that project. But both of these new developments are both upgrading of those two pump stations. So they'll both be flowing into both the Route 6 and the Ellswick pump stations.
Yeah.
Earlier on, we had a discussion about proportional funding for upgrades. And I think that needs to carry forward to all these new projects. If they're not on the hook for the full upgrade, there ought to be some discussion about proportional upgrades. And this would be in addition to the hookup fees.
Correct. Absolutely.
All right. Okay.
If the zoning board of appeals is making their decisions and saying that they don't have purview over the issue of water and sewer permits and the impact on the system, then that tells me that responsibility falls to this board. And certainly before any of those permits are issued, we've covered an awful lot of issues today that I'm going to be raising, and I'm sure my fellow board members are going to be raising before any permits are issued. We have to come at this in a responsible manner, and we got some work ahead of us, to say the least.
Well, I am now very uncomfortable with the lack of planning in this town. At a level of community development and land use planning, these projects should have been anticipated given their size and location, and some evaluation done as the community's plan was updated just 2 years ago. I'm at a loss to know how that process, which is supposed to be comprehensive, missed this much development. And, I had raised the issue several years ago about doing a socioeconomic impacts assessment, including population growth and demand for housing associated with offshore wind development. And I mean, everyone was polite enough to not to laugh at me, but I was ignored. And this development may not be directly associated with that kind of offshore activity, but it seems to me that some kind of anticipation should have been done in the plan. I'm at a loss. This is not, it doesn't feel right. I'm sorry. My sense is that this is not an appropriate place to be. I'm trying to get away from the use of the word feel. Somebody used to say, "You mean you feel, right?"
Mm-hmm.
No, this is my opinion, and I am uncomfortable, and I don't know what to do about it. Maybe I'm just anyway. Okay, Tim, anything else?
You're uncomfortable.
I think I would characterize it as somewhat out of control.
Yeah.
My sense is that it's out of control. If we can't anticipate it as a public agency responsible for providing services, then we have lost control over what's going on here.
Yeah.
And I think to add to what Rob and Ron are saying is that once the plant reaches capacity and we have to do a plant upgrade, it was driven by commercial development of residential units for profit. And the issue comes up as to who's going to pay for the plant improvements for, additional capacity. And the same holds true with the issue of traffic, increases in traffic and improvements in roads and installation of signals and things.
Yep.
All of this stuff, to talk in excess of 1,400 units, I wouldn't be surprised when our consultants get back to us and tell us how many units are tied in now to the system, that this is not like a 20 or 25% increase in just the number of additional sewer tie-ins than we have currently. This has got a lot of concern, and I mirror what Rob's saying. It's you hear people complain about traffic now. Wait till they see some of these projects, if they get permitted and they're not traffic improvements. They think Fons Corner Road and Old Westport Road and Route 6 are backed up.
Mm-hmm.
Wait till you see some.
Yep.
It's somebody's got to put up their hands and say, let's look at this comprehensively. Are we making the best decisions? I've said enough today. I got to stop talking.
Yeah, I have the same sense, Mike.
I can say where these units, 1,400 units, is approximately in the 6 to 7% of our current units connected.
And Tim, add in the ones that haven't tied into the sewer extensions that have been done over the last 25 years.
Correct.
And you're over the top.
Yes.
And if the consultant comes back with any other opinion other than that, when you factor in those that have not tied into sewer extensions, I'm positive that you'll be over the top. Because if you read that Stantec report on the Hawthorne, raised the specter in very vague terms at the end of that report, and that's why I've asked for them to expand upon that, because everybody's going to know where are we going and what could be the implications.
Okay, Tim, anything else?
Just lastly, just touching base on our staff, where Andrew, LaFleur, he might still be on here. You know, he's our new assistant, you know, water and sewer, assistant water and sewer superintendent. He's been working with Steve, kind of onboarding and training, so he's doing well.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning, Andrew.
Morning, Andrew.
Other than that, we have, you know, other new staff in the department that we've been training. We're happy to say that we're fully staffed at our HMEO positions. I mean, except for the water division HMEO position. You know, all of our other HMEO positions are fully staffed. There are no vacancies with our CDL driver positions. Now, you know, the highway department has been working, you know, strongly with HR to get all these positions filled up, and it's been great. Now the turn is to get the SMEO positions filled, and if that takes some of our HMEOs, and we can backfill those. Other than that, our water superintendent position is still vacant, but we have Steve Sullivan that's contracted, that's still working with us, and we're also, you know, working on a new admin assistant here in, like I said, a business agent as well.
Okay,
And
some good news.
some good news, yes.
All right, board members, any questions? Any other comments?
About it.
All right, if there are none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Motion by Mr. LaBelle, second by Mr. Gagne. Mr. LaBelle, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Gagne?
I vote yes.
Chair votes yes, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you all.